Hi everyone, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending this webinar in lighting that we are organizing the Federal University of Santa Maria together with the Federal University of Juiz de Fora. And today we will receive a presentation from OSRAM from Germany about horticultural lighting with LEDs. First, I have some information. We have a certificate of attendance to who want to receive. We have a link here in the chat. You can fill this form in order to receive this certificate of attendance. And also, I'd like to thank OSRAM from Brazil and also from Germany to giving us this very nice webinar today. And I also would like to thank the company Zagonel from Brazil. Zagonel is who made the contact with OSRAM to this webinar. So today we will have here Sergio Naga. He's from OSRAM in Brazil. Igor Wagner is an application engineer from Audax. It's a company that is working in this topic. And our speaker is Horst from Germany. So first, I'd like to give the word to Sergio to say some words and to introduce Horst here in this webinar. Thank you very much.
So first of all, thank you very much, Professor Marco, to give us this opportunity to show to the attendants about the horticultural lighting and what OSRAM has to offer for this marketing, and also some theoretical concepts about this artificial lighting to horticulture, right? So today we are going to talk about horticultural lighting, artificial lighting for plants growth, right? And Varga Horst is our application engineer and specialist for this topic. He will give a very valued content to you, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So have a nice presentation.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Professor Marco. I'm very glad that I have the opportunity to present you some slides regarding horticultural lighting, and especially horticultural lighting with LEDs. So the agenda for this presentation, so I will go through roughly 5 points, and I will start with market overview, where I will give you a short overview when we started with horticultural lighting and how we will continue. Then probably the most interesting part of the presentation, the horticultural lighting basics, and which means more or less the science behind the horticultural lighting. Then, of course, we will address this market and these challenges with our products. And here I will show you our product portfolio to show you how dedicated we can address certain applications. And then some technical points like spectral comparison, or something like shaping the spectra, and how to bring the light homogeneously on the area or the place where it's need to be. And after this, we're covering these 5 topics, so then we will have also some time for questions and answers. So the horticulture market is growing rapidly, and therefore there are some reasons. Actually, when I remember back when it started with horticultural lighting, so I remember back, I think it was 2012, 2010 around. So we've been at the light fair, light building in Frankfurt, and some guys appeared. They had a box, and there was some red and blue light inside, and some plants below. and they could show and prove that applying the right spectrum, or at least the wavelengths which are needed, you can grow with artificial light quite well plants. Since then, we investigated in this area, and we figured out as OSRAM has a wide portfolio, beginning from UVC up to infrared, and we have the whole bunch of colors in LEDs, from monochromatic emitters up to phosphor-converted solutions and LEDs. So we could pick the right components and tailor the right spectrum for this certain applications. And since a couple of years, so there are some factors which are even boosting this market. And the one is, of course, the urbanization, which means cities are getting bigger and bigger, and it's quite interesting to produce the goods, the plants, let's say the salad in the city where you are living. You don't have the transports and so on, and it can be close to you. Since also the legalization of medical cannabis and so on is going or in process, also for these applications, we can address the right light with the right amount of light, and this is also boosting this development or this evolution. And then, of course, since couple of years, when we take a look in the former solutions like high-pressure sodium lamps, and with their possibility to control just maybe on and off and having couple luminaires more or less, now it's the transition made to an LED solution where you can control the spectrum, where you can control the intensity, where you can maybe change the spectrum from the morning to the evening, and also in terms of the economic reasons and of the power of the LED we have right now, and the efficiency of the LED is coming in the region where these applications is going to be interesting and also economical interesting. And therefore we see now a technology change from the traditional one to the new modern technology, and this is also boosting this market. So where we are with the application, of course, the biggest portion is greenhouse. And greenhouse is basically the application where we have two types of lighting. The one is the top lighting and the other is the interlighting. And the top lighting is that one which is usually done in combination. So which means you have daylight and you supplement the daylight with the artificial light. And this is done usually with some hyper-red light and some blue light. So you can complete or fulfill the day. For interlighting, this is usually for bigger plants, or where you want to bring the light close to the plants or between the plants, or you have different layers. Then you can use the version of interlighting. Of course, here you need then slightly different LEDs, which are maybe a little bit lower in the power, but you have more of them. So then going further in indoor farming, so we see a lot of application for vertical farming. Here usually you don't have daylight, so that's pure artificial illumination. Then single multi-layers and grow containers. So this is what we can address for indoor farming, and herefore we have also the components which are shown below. And then to not forget also a big market, which is the consumer market. And the idea here is that everybody in his kitchen might have some plants, or let's say some herbs cooking, and it's very nice if you can grab them immediately before you are cooking. You have some fresh plants, so you can grab them, and herefore we have also the right solution. That means we have the right suitable LEDs, which are in terms of robustness not necessarily comparable with the professional solution here on the left side. But for consumer use, it's very good. So coming now to the probably most interesting point, which is horticulture basics. So what do you need for horticulture? And if we consider that everything is working with photosynthesis, so that means that the light is somehow in the central. So that means that to grow a plant, you need light. But of course, light is not enough. So you need also to have some water, to have some nutrients, you have to have some carbon dioxide. But with light, you can generate and you use all these other factors and to lead the plant to grow. Interesting is if we consider that with light, we can influence something. So you can say, okay, we double the amount of light. So then we will have a double effect maybe. And we will see that all these things, they have to fit together. I cannot give too much water or I cannot give too much light. But if I take all the screws and I drive on them a little bit, so then if I increase the number of carbon dioxide, then I can increase the number of light, and I have to add some water, and in total I can accelerate the body mass or the weight of the plants or the growth of the plants. So, of course, the best spectrum for horticultural lighting is, of course, the sun spectrum. And to address the sun spectrum is not quite easy, and it is quite a full spectrum. And additionally, it is also changing. So it's changing from the morning till the evening. So, and then that means you have to address all the wavelengths what you would need, and the nature is the master, and it's telling us what is the best for the plants. So we are trying to be economical, we are trying to be efficient, and therefore we are looking on what kind of wavelengths does the plants react, and what do we want to achieve. And with this, we can shape this spectrum and can look on the results and then analyze the results and then decide for us what we want to achieve. We don't want to be better than the nature, and we won't be better than the nature, but we can come very close to our target. So going in or trying to understand now some parameters where we always are talking, it is very important to understand a little bit the physics behind. And here, for that, I will give you an example. So we will have a light source, and this light source is for generating light. And this light, if we have it in our room, so that means we say we have a certain amount of light, and we perceive this with our eyes, and the amount of light for the human beings is then called luminous flux. And this luminous flux tells us the amount of light what we see. And for the same thing on the other part, for the plants, it's also an amount of light, but the plants, they cannot perceive it like we. We are perceiving the light, or we weight the spectrum of the light with a V lambda curve. This is the curve here in the middle, which is with a maximum and a range of 550 nanometers. But plants react in a totally different way. So therefore, talking about luminous flux and about lumen is not the right parameter for horticulture. So the right parameter for horticulture is defined on the PAR curve. So which means the PAR curve is a plateau between 400 nanometer and 700 nanometer, and is weighting this spectrum here from 400 to 7 nanometer with the same value. And this spectrum weighted by the PAR curve, we are calling, this is the photosynthetical photon flux, which is the output here. And this photosynthetic photon flux, you can imagine it's like a cloud, and you have the raindrops, and you have amount of photons here inside, which is generated by the luminaire, and now they fall down to the target area. And so that means that we have a photon flux, and this photon flux, the unit for this is micromole per second. I will come later to this unit, and I will explain why we have maybe such a strange unit for a lighting application. Then, if this amount of photon flux is going through an area or hitting an area or a section of an area, then we are talking about the photon flux density or the photosynthetic photon flux density. And this is given in micromole per second per square meter. So, of course, if we see this power curve here, then we could think maybe about that this might be not maybe the most suitable curve, but it will value every wavelength between 400 and 700. But now, if we take a look on this important curves here, which are the chlorophyll A and B, so these are the receptors for the plant, which is important for the body growth, for the energy generation in the plant. And if I would have some red, so then I would get a response. If I would have some blue, I would also get some response. But imagine I take a low pressure sodium lamp and then I have a yellow peak. It's almost nothing, but the power curve will value it. So therefore, it's always important to understand the parameters what we have here on the right side, to can handle them, but we also always need also the informations of the spectrum and of the spectrum composition to be able to judge these effects in this system very well. There are some other curves which I just drawn here inside a little bit, something like the DIN, German industry norm curve, which is trying to get this approach close, or the McQueen, this is the colored curve here behind. So there are more possibilities. But this does not do too much to the fact that we need somehow to value, to weigh this, and we have to know about what we are talking. So coming to the next slide, where I just give you a comparison between human eye and plants and why we have different units. So if I have a luminaire and I have an amount of light, this luminaire is generating a luminous flux. And this luminous flux is called, or is measured in lumen, and the unit is lumen. The same thing we have for plants, which is the photon flux. And for the photon flux, we say, okay, this is micromole per second. And if we try to think now about efficiency, then we usually say, okay, what is efficiency? Efficiency is the amount of light or flux what I generate in a luminaire. And then I take a look on how much electrical power do I put in. And now giving you a well-known example, take an incandescent light bulb, which everybody knows from former times, 100 watts, which is in the range somewhere 13,000 lumen. And now I make 13,000 lumen divided by 100 watts, so which means I have around an efficiency of 13 lumen per watt. And now we have to take a look in our days now, where we have LEDs on system level or luminaires on system level with 140 lumen per watt, and LEDs in a range of 200 or 220 lumen per watt. So now you can see the development from 13 lumen per watt up to what we have now, 220 lumen per watt. So, and the same thing we have also for plants, where we say we take the photon flux with micromole per second, and we take a look how much power do we put in. So that means that we have micromole per second divided by watts, which means we have micromole per watts second, and this is nothing else than micromole per joule. So micromole per joule is the efficiency, and all the time when we are talking about efficiency in horticulture application, we are talking about micromole per joule. And now the explanation to this strange analogy to the chemistry somehow, micromole per joule. Basically, everybody of you might know from chemistry the whole theory with mass, volume, and particle numbers, and the Avogadro constant, and substance amount, and so on. And basically, we just use here the latest part, or the last part here. We need a number. We need somehow a number for this whole photons what we have, and it has to be a huge or a big number. And therefore, this Avogadro constant is quite good. So that means that we take this number, and we say so many photons we have, and we try to bring it in some handy units, which means if we consider that a LED is in a range of somewhere between 3 to maybe 10 micromole per second, and if we consider that the whole system efficiencies, they are in the range of 3.5 micromole per joule, or system levels with a photon flux of 100 to, let's say, 600, 700, 800 micromole per second, then you can see that this number here is a quite handy number, and we can remember it better. And this is why it etablates here to use this this way of dimensioning the units. So what is the most important, or what are the most important curves? The most important curves are, of course, the chlorophyll A and B. This is what is making the photosynthesis and is giving the plant the energy. And here you can see you can address this photosynthesis either by blue light in the range of 450 nanometer or by red light in the range of 660 nanometer. So to be more concrete, there are not only these curves are the receptors for a plant. So you have carotenoid, you have photochrome, you have phytochrome, far red phytochrome, red phytochrome, and so on. And what we are doing is we are addressing with our LEDs and with our spectra exactly in the region where this sensitivity of the plant is. And as you can see here, so we have the deep blue, our deep blue spectrum with around 450, 455 nanometers, which is fitting very well on the left side. Then we have for the photosynthesis on the red side, the hyper red LEDs with 660 nanometer. And then we have also here the portion of far red with 730 nanometer, which I'll explain immediately why this is maybe so important. So important thing is the photosynthesis is giving the plant the energy, which means it transforms water and carbon dioxide with light together in carbohydrates, which is nothing else than sugar, and then it gives the power the plant to grow. So if we want to gain biomass, so then the most important thing is that we use hyper red, 660 nanometers, and blue with 150 nanometers. And then it happened with something interesting. This other part here, like far red, is interesting for controlling the morphogenesis of a plant. For example, the ratio between this 660 nanometer and the 730 nanometer in terms of ratio per pound can influence the morphogenesis of the plant, which means growing faster or getting taller or germination or inducing flowering. All these things can be controlled or influenced by this ratio. And just to give you a short example, if you imagine you have a little tree in a wood or a forest, and this little tree is living more or less in the shadow because the other trees, they are surrounded and they are on top and they get this nice light with 660 nanometer. And this poor little tree gets only the shadowish light, which has a higher content of this 730 nanometer. So that means that this little tree, this gets a different ratio of 660 versus 730. And this is telling this little tree, hey guy, you have to grow faster because you also have to get on the top where you get this nice light of 660 nanometers. And here on this easy example, you can see how this can work together. On the other side is, if you say this phytochrome receptors and this phytochrome protein, which is in the plant, so the phytochrome red is mainly generated during the daytime, and it will recombine the reconversion overnight by a natural process. And this natural process, this can be influenced. If you have an artificial light source, like we have here, and we can change the spectra and so on, so then we can influence this. And what does this mean? This basically means we have a day length, and plants, they are getting light over the whole day, but in spring and autumn, the days are not as long, so you can use artificial light to prolong the day. And then let's say we set the daylight to 16 hours. And the rest to 24 hours, the 8 hours, the plants needs also some rest. So let's rest the plants. But in this resting phase, we can say, okay, let's give the plant a good night kiss. And this good night kiss is maybe this far red, where you accelerate then this reconversion or this reconversion of phytochrome far red to phytochrome red. And here you see how many mechanisms, it's just a couple of them, how many mechanisms you can have here to influence the living and the behavior and the growth of the plants. Studies have proved that red plus blue is the most efficient, or is one of the most efficient spectral combination to gain biomass or to grow fast. And this is quite clear. So if we take a look on this chlorophyll, which is responsible for the energy household of the plant, then you can see that if you attach, or if you go with blue and red light, you have the main benefit. Of course, in the range of 550 or 600, you don't see too much. If you would apply now a wide spectrum like sketched here on top, so that means that you put a lot of energy in green or in white area here, green or green yellowish area, and it will not be perceived from the plant. But this does not mean that we don't need to have this. As we know, all wavelengths can contribute to some important things like maybe taste or taste of fruits or vitamin production or whatever. We don't know all the effects what can be in reality here. We start step by step to find out which wavelengths are contributing to what, and this is what we are using to grow our plants. But I'm sure in a couple of years we will investigate even more and more, and we will find out and we will have studies showing regions of wavelengths to what contribution they will lead. And then also not every plant is similar to the other one, so they are also differing, so this will be a huge matrix. So of course, then the white light is clear that you can see here that it's not as efficient than the combination of red plus blue. To addressing, you see the background now behind, the scientific background, you saw the applications, and now how can we address from OSRAM side those applications? And herefore we have a professional approach and a consumer approach, and we have also approaches between. But the professional approach is based on a very robust LED, what we have from former times and know it very well. And also for this application here, where we have quite harsh conditions. So in a greenhouse, you have humidity, you have temperatures, maybe you have some other gases which can be around caused by the ground, what you have, and so on. And those LEDs, they have to survive. And therefore, we are choosing the OSRAM family. And this LED is really a very strong and very robust LED. So we have only materials inside which are very sustainable, like we have aluminum nitride as a substrate or the panel here below. Then we have silicon on top, which is basically not aging from light. Then we have a thin film chip inside, or a UIC3 chip for the blue LEDs, where we have years of development behind to make this product very robust. And just to give you a comparison, other LEDs, they have, for example, aluminum oxide with a thermal conductivity of maybe around 20 watt per meter Kelvin. We with aluminum nitride, we have here around 180 watt per meter Kelvin thermal conductivity. So we try to develop this LED in terms of efficiency, in terms of output, radiometric output, or in terms of thermal behavior, to optimize it so that we get the best performance. Then an LED between this let's say consumer LEDs and the professional ones is epoxy package LED with exactly the same chip like we have here, the professional one. And so that means that we mix up consumer LEDs or low power LEDs with something, or at least a dye from a professional LED. And so we get an LED which is maybe more on the top here on the professional side, from the performance and from the lifetime and from the robustness. Also for consumer applications, we have here low power LEDs in different variations. The majority of what we have are the 3030 packages, so which means 3 mm by 3 mm, and also some very small low power LEDs, 2835 LEDs. So this best-in-class LEDs we can offer for, like you can see here, top light application in greenhouses is of course our OSRAM square hyper-red. And you can see the data here, 3 by 3 millimeters, a Lambertian emission with a very good lifetime, and the compound to this, or the second part to this LED, or the third part to this LED is then the blue LED, and then the Horti white LED. And to this Horti white LED, I will explain later on why we are calling it Horti white. And then you can also see that we are, especially for the needs and for the application, what we need in this field, we will develop our LEDs. This slide here is just showing you more or less what this improvement of the LED, or this strong development on the LED is influencing. Every LED has a certain output, either its lumen output or either its photon flux, which is coming out, and the behavior of the LEDs can be different. Generally, if you heat up an LED, then the flux will go down. And an indicator how good the LED is depends on how strong this will happen. And in our case, if you take a look now on this behavior, so if you heat up the LED to around 85, 90 degrees, then we still have 94% of the initial flux value. Some other manufacturer, they reach something close, or even some of them even lower. And this is technology-wise, like I mentioned, also maybe the aluminum nitride, for example, with a good thermal behavior. And do not forget the dye, the chip inside of the LED. So then we are coming to some reliability and some lifetime estimations for these LEDs. So as you can see, we have here an LMAT report with 17,000 hours. And if you do this test and you take a look how the behavior is, or the light maintenance over this time, and then you make a projection, and for this projection it's allowed only to make it 6 times longer than the measurement time. So then you can see that we get very good numbers for the lifetime of our LED. This does not mean now, if it's mentioned greater than 100,000 hours, that if you reach 110,000 hours, so the system will not work anymore. This just means that the light will decrease slightly, but it will not stop working. So that means that you can run the systems even longer, but then there will become the time once, or the time will come when you say, okay, now it's maybe better to change it. But when you take a look here, we have after 100,000 hours still 90, even better than 90% of the initial value. So then I think this is a very good number. Then it's up to, let's say, like I mentioned before, the micromole per joule, the efficiency of the LED. Now you can see we have here a handy number. We can remember it. And you see now, if you operate an LED at a low current, or a lower current, or a nominal current in our case here, then you might get 4.10 micromole per joule. And now it's up to your decision, or you can trace your focus if you want to go to efficiency, or you want to go to power for the irradiation of the plants. And you can choose it. And you see that doubling, for example, doubling the current from 700 milliamps, doubling, going to 1400 milliamps, you are almost doubling the micromole per second, the photon flux value, almost. So the double would be around the 11.2 or 0.3. And now you see we have here 10.17. So that means the LED is getting slightly more inefficient if you drive it harder. But it's to your decision how you want to design it. And also then, of course, the efficiency goes slightly down. So you can look for your sweet spots here, and we have quite a wide range. So I will skip this slide. So, but what you can keep in mind, 73% wall plug efficiency. So that means basically that we, if you put in 1 watt electrical power, you get around 730 milliwatts radiometric power out. So this is what this number is telling you. And here you can see that it's a quite good value. So like I mentioned in the beginning, the Horti white LED. What is so special of the Horti white LED? And we know out of this whole application that the plants, they need especially blue light and red light, and some little content of white, of greenish light. It's also useful. And if you go into a deeper look in this whole systems, then you see if you apply white light or white LED, so then your whole system efficacy in micromole per joule will drop a little bit down. And to improve this system efficacy, so we made up our mind, how can be this realized? And now we divide this in 3 areas, and we see we have a blue area. Here we have a blue LED, which is very strong, very good. Then we have a red LED, the 660 nanometer LED, where we are the best on the market with our product. And if we mix now some white LED, what we did in the past here at the standard white LED with the I70, so then you can see that what are you doing is you convert the blue peak. The white LED is based on the blue LED and has some phosphor on top. And with the phosphor, you convert the blue light into this green and yellowish and orange light here. So which means this part here, the yellow and the orange part here, this is generated by the phosphor. And every time when you generate light by conversion from blue light to a orange light or a green light, so then you always have the Stokes shift between. And this is connected with losses. If you want to eliminate these losses, so then you have to do something different. And this is what we are doing here with our Horti white. So we use another phosphor, which is more focused on the greenish area. So that means that we use, or we take more blue light and we transform or convert this blue light into greenish light here. But this phosphor is different to that one on top, so that we have here a minimum on this yellowish and orange light. To compensate now this lag here in the reddish area, we just boost up a little bit more the hyper red LED. And the hyper red LED is our efficiency booster. So if we take now a look on the efficiency of the LEDs, of this white LED and the Horti white LED, in terms of micromole per joule, they are not much different. But if we take a look on system level, so we boost now here with a roughly 10%, with around 10% more. So this gives us a pure benefit on system level. So I think now this Horti white is understood. So it's more or less a greenish light, which cannot be used now for general lighting applications, but it's exactly suitable for these horticulture applications. For interlighting and indoor or even other applications like architectural lighting and so on, so we have then a smaller component, which is from the size the same, 3 by 3 millimeter, but we have a smaller chip inside. We have a 1 square millimeter die inside. And but here the benefit for this one is we can have it in 3 type of angular, so radiation patterns, 80 degree, 120, and 150 degree. So we can decide whether we want to go wide or more narrow. So then the also a 1 watt component and 30 by 30, but I've already mentioned it before, is the Osconic P3030, which is based on a professional die and on an EMC package with the silicon dome. And now we are coming to the low power products, which is a volume converted LED. So here we have usually LEDs which are not based on a UE3 technology. Like we have a thin gun UE3. It is based on a sapphire technology, also sapphire technology, blue light, and then you put the phosphor on top with silicon mix, and therefore you call it volume conversion. And then you get out here something like a purple light or full spectrum, or here a greenish light, or even without any phosphor, then a pure blue. And if we are going now even to more low power LEDs, so then we can also take in account the 2835, which is more for architectural lighting intended. But as for architectural lighting, colors are important, and for horticulture also colors are important. So this is why you can find here then also the hyper red and the far red and the purple, and also with the mentioned micromole per joule here in this column. But as you can see already here now, and now you will also see the difference between the professional solution. When you remember back on the OSRAM, on the hyper red, we had efficiencies in the range of 4 point something micromole per joule. And now take a look here on these combi solutions. Of course, they are interesting, they are low power, but also the efficiency is not comparable. But for consumer application, for the herbs in the kitchen and so on, it's the perfect match. So I will skip this slide. Now we will come to a point where we say, okay, investment, costs, efficiency, and now you can see what is the most interesting spectra in terms of costs, in terms of efficiency, and somehow costs and efficiency is related. So if I have a very efficient system, so this means not necessarily, but very strongly, it means that I need a low count of LEDs, which is then, of course, in terms of cost, more interesting. And therefore, this dual peak solution with hyper red and blue, this is 10% blue, 90% hyper red. This is very common, and it's very common used for prolong the day and for application with daylight, and is also the most efficient. This is what we call 100%. And then we have a low white spectrum. So here you put in also some Horti white, and then you see that immediately it gets more expensive, or at least you need more LEDs. And if you lift up this greenish region here in the middle, so then you basically the efficiency is suffering here, and therefore you need here a higher count of LEDs, and then you will end up with the highest costs. So here, this is just a chart showing you where you can pick your trade-off between white light and red share, and depends on what kind of plants do you grow, and you need, in combination, you need what kind of spectra you need for a salad maybe, or for a tomato. Then also, if you have some other plants, when you say, okay, I have to take focus on flowering, then I need also my hyper red, and my hyper red is even not covered in the par curve. So this is everything, but it's very important, and it has to be considered separately. So coming to the last chapter, we have, this is the batwing concept, and here the idea was created. If you have LEDs which are Lambertian, and then you need a certain number of LEDs, you distribute them over an area, then you will see you get some hotspots. And somehow, if you want to illuminate homogeneously an area where the plants are, so that means that you might put maybe some more. You run them at lower power, but this then is destroying then your economic part. And therefore, we made also up our mind, what can we do to improve this effect? Also, there is one more benefit here. What we can say is, if you imagine you have raindrops which are falling down from top to the bottom, so then you hit the top leaves maybe, but then the leaves below, they don't get the raindrops anymore. With the light, it's similar. If you have quite parallel light or so on, or narrow beam, and you go straight down, so then you're absorbing on the top very well, but then on the bottom, it's even not as good. And if you have a battering radiation pattern, like here on the right side, so that means with the same amount of LEDs, you get a much better homogeneity on the floor. And also what you get additionally, that you have one luminaire here, and the other luminaire is also interfering with the neighbor luminaires. And by this interference in this wider angular, you also hit the plants with light from the lateral side. And this is good. So that means that the plant gets a surrounded light core. Let's say it in that way. So here you can see the radiation pattern of the battering lens and of the standard lens. If you apply secondary optics, of course, then we go for the standard giant lens. If not, we go for the battering lens. Here there are some, this slide shows you basically a standard lens with a cover, a secondary standard LED with a secondary optics to get something like a battering. And that the battering is good, we know it out of the traditional or from the traditional systems, like the high pressure sodium systems. And take a look, so you see how these are looking, and they are proven that it's working well. So this is also one of the reasons why we go in this direction, and we benefit here in terms of efficiency, as we do not do so much light like in these combinations here. So therefore, we launched this product, and it's still on the same platform. So we have for all the OSRAM family, we have the same footprint. So the customer can change between. You can see here all the parts we have from the 50, 660, 730 nanometers. Efficiency values behind. So if we share this presentation afterwards, so then you can go always inside and pick out the interesting points for you. And now I'm also coming to the end, and I see that we are also in time, and I would thank you for your attention and for your big interest, and also invite you to place all the questions we would like to place, and I try to answer them as good as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Horst, for your very nice presentation. Well, we have now time for questions, and I ask of the attendants for you to send your questions through the chat, so we can read it to Horst. So and also I have to give again the information. We have certificate of attendance mainly for the students. You have in this chat the link of a form. You just have to fill this form to receive this certificate from the IEEE student branch from our university. So now to start, I will ask Igor to make the first question to Horst.
Yeah, it was a very good presentation. Thanks for that. And my question is simple, but a bit complicated, as you may ask. So for the roadmap for the packages, we see on the white LEDs that we have a chip scale package right now launching in different manufacturers. And do you see a future where all the LEDs will be CSPs, or is there enough room for CSPs on horticulture LEDs?
Yes, it's an interesting question, and it depends now on what is your application target for the LEDs. So basically, if you have a real CSP LED, so then the focus on a real CSP LED is the luminance output of the LED. So that means this LED is very interesting if you want to place an optic behind, or if you want to keep the optic small. So then these LEDs are very, very interesting and very suitable for this application. For standard application like in horticulture, where you have place where you can make the luminaire slightly bigger, here we see that solutions like we have with the OSRAM package and with the secondary lens on top are more beneficial. And why they are more beneficial? Having a secondary lens on the top can gain your light output. A flat LED has a higher content of internal reflection. So that means that you have to do a lot of gimmicks to get the light out of the package. With the lens component, it's much more easier. So you easily get 10% more light out of the LED. This light are you missing at a chip scale package. So therefore, if you are sparing this 10% light, then you have to be aware what kind of application I really want to address with this. And then we are here at maybe architectural lighting, or maybe a combination with color mixing, where we have different colors. We have the whole portfolio of CSP. It's 1 square millimeter size. And we have it in almost all the colors what I showed also here, red, green, blue, and so on. You can mix it, put it together, but you always have to be aware the package is smaller. You might have a different RTH. Then for this big LEDs here, we have RTHs which are very, very low. If you make purely take the die, and you have no chance to play the ceramic below or something like this, so you have a lead frame based package. So then it's getting more tricky. So it always depends on the application.
Thanks,
Great.
Horst.
Thank you.
We have some questions from the audience. First, from Christian Gross. He's asking about the humidity in greenhouses. If the LEDs are resistant to high humidity in greenhouses, especially in a fog chamber.
Especially what kind of chamber? In
a fog chamber.
A fog chamber. Okay. Yes. Yes, we have a lot of reliability tests which are doing for our LEDs, and also we have some dew tests. Something what you mentioned like fog and humidity. And what I can say now, especially for this horticulture LEDs, the OSRAM Square or the OSRAM family is the most robust LED what you can imagine for this application. I will try to explain why. We have a ceramic substrate. This is almost not affectable or inherent. Then we have a silicon lens. So the lens is also not affected by the humidity. Now we have the point that the lens is out of silicon, it's permeable, so that means that humidity can enter in the LED. And if this humidity enters in the LED, so then we have two, let's say, two active areas. The one is the phosphor, what can be influenced, and the other one is the chip. And now we are taking a closer look on the chip itself, taking a look on the UX3 chip. The UX3 chip is the blue chip. It's a 2 square millimeter chip, or it's also a version of 1 square millimeter chip. And this chip is basically passivated very strongly. It contains no silver, because the silver is actually the issue with the humidity, because then you get this darkening of the silver, or this oxidation of the silver, and the reflection leaves from the silver. So now we have to understand the comparison between a standard LED, which is sapphire technology based. So I have a crystal which is lighting, and this crystal is sitting on a lead frame. And the lead frame is plated with silver. So that means this volume emitter gives the light towards the lead frame, and then it will be reflected out. What we have in our OSRAM LED, it's not a volume emitter, it's a top emitter. So that means it's a very thin chip, and the light is coming out directly of the top of the LED. We have a silver inside, which is a silver mirror on the bottom, but it's encapsulated in the chip itself. So it's passivated, surrounded, so nothing can enter in the chip. So therefore the chip is stable. And then on the other side with the phosphor, so we make a lot of tests, reliability tests, what kind of phosphor can survive this humidity? Are they sensitive to humidity? Yes or no? And we have even applications in dental drills and where they do the sterilization with pressure and so on, and they are surviving. So I'm quite confident that this LED, what we have here, is fulfilling the requirements for humidity in a greenhouse very well.
Thanks, Horst. We have another question here from Pascal Dupois. It's from the University of Toulouse, Paul Sabatier. He's asking about the pollution during the night from greenhouses. What will be the cost or benefit of putting light shields to avoid stray lights from exiting the greenhouses?
Did I get the question right? Is light pollution a question for greenhouses? So that means if we illuminate greenhouses in the night so that we have light pollution, did I get it right, the question, or?
Yes, the exiting light of these greenhouses during the night. He's asking about the cost benefit of putting light shields to avoid this pollution.
This is something what I hard can answer, as my knowledge now does not go as deep in the greenhouses. So as I mentioned in the presentation, so I learned that plants needs to rest. And when I say plants need to rest, so then I say, okay, in the night, the light has to be turned off. So when it comes to light pollution, we have to say what kind of light is turned on in the night, maybe the far red, or even maybe if some greenhouse customers or runners, they drive it also in the night. So then, of course, you can put some shields on, but then maybe only the blue light might be bothering. So there are maybe some ideas probably where they can think about and say, okay, then we turn off the blue light, but leave the red light. It's maybe not as 100% efficient, but for photosynthesis, it doesn't make any difference if it's blue light or red light. And red light should not be considered as light pollution.
Okay, thanks, Horst. We have another question from Michael Vick. He's from Czech Republic, and Michael will present also a webinar in 3 weeks. He will present about the new standards in CRI, Color Rendering Index. He's asking if is it possible to explain the differences in chemistry of phosphors used for standard white and RT white.
Yes, I can explain. Usually the phosphors from white LEDs, all the white LEDs, they are based on a blue LED. So you pump with the blue wavelengths, and then the phosphor is transforming or converting you the light from blue towards green, yellow, and red. What you need. If we are coming to general lighting, so then you need to have a certain quality or certain a certain color rendering of the light. And here we are talking about CRI 70, CRI 80. So that means if we are in an office, at least we need CRI 80 for the color rendering. If we are in some well-being area or something like this, or a home, and you want to feel comfortable, so then maybe you go towards CRI 90 and maybe towards warmer color temperatures. And those phosphors which are chosen and used for this CRI 80, CRI 90, so they can be a phosphor out of one sort, or it can be a mixture of phosphors, like a green phosphor mixed with a red phosphor. And this makes it then more complicated, also the steering. But now for the Horti application, we used in the beginning, we used the CRI 70. Why the CRI 70? Because the CRI 70, the tricky part or the efficiency part is always to get the red part from the LED. If I have to convert from blue to red, I have a long way and I have a huge Stokes shift. So that means if I want to make an efficient LED, like for street lighting, so then I try to skip the red part and make only a conversion with less red, but then I just achieve CRI 70, which means I have a good efficiency, a high number of lumen per watt, but this color rendering is less. And what we are doing now for the application, we go even a step further. We do not stick on CCTs on 3000 Kelvin or 4000 Kelvin to be close to the Planckian locus. And then we say, okay, we go directly in the greenish area. And then we have a greenish phosphor inside. And here we have then a very bad color rendering index, but the plans there do not care about my color rendering index, but I can make this team play with my red LED and then boost up my efficiency.
Thanks, Horst. We have two questions from Pedro Laguardia. They are related, so I will read both to you. He's thanking you for the presentation, and he's making a very nice question. Which curve do you use to quantify quantum radiation? PAR, flat curve, or RQE1? And he is also asking is there any conclusion on literature about which curve is more appropriate to use?
Hard to say. On the one side, we have to say we understand this topic in terms of a LED manufacturer. For sure, the PAR curve in the nature is nothing flat. For sure, the PAR curve might not be the right one. But I also cannot tell you if the McCree or if the DIN curve, what we have, or all those curves, they are maybe more suitable. As I mentioned in the beginning, of course, we see in terms of chlorophyll and so on, I see a huge response in blue and in red. And now if I would say, okay, I apply a low pressure sodium luminaire to a plant, then I'm quite sure that this plant won't be happy. In terms of PAR, I might have probably quite good efficiency. So here you see that it does not match together. I think for calculation with the PAR, it's okay to base the units on that. And with the second or third information we are giving over the spectrum, you can handle these applications. It's similar, I think, like for general lighting, where we many times have been discussing, is CRI now the right value or not? But now we say, okay, CRI is good, and we give some additional information like the R9 value, or maybe we paint the spectrum, and then we see, or even we talk about other metrics, additional metrics, what we or key numbers, what we can put on. And I think here in horticulture, it might be similar.
Okay, Horst, we have a question here from Marcelo Toss. Marcelo is an application engineer from Intral, a Brazilian company. Thank you, Marcelo, for your attendance. and he's asking how to specify the right artificial light for each type of plant. This is a very tough question.
I remember this question. I got this question, I think, at least 6-7 years back. And I remember my former boss told me, okay, you have to go to Düsseldorf. I'm not sure where. It was exactly to a photonic congress or what it was. And there we have been a group of, I think, 40 people. And we had agriculture people, we had biologists, we had chemistry guys, we had greenhouse owner. And I got questions like, if I have this light and energy costs in that way, can I grow tomatoes or biomass with 20% more, so then I can put in a ratio and so on. And then a discussion started between the biologists and all the other guys, and then they tried to explain there are plants which are different. They need different light. So some of them they need shadow. Some of them if they see once a cloud and then it's getting shadowing and then it's again bright, so they don't like it. So then it's not working. So and basically there was no consensus there. So I think I'm not sure if now a couple of years later, so we are able to answer this question. But we have to consider that for every plant we need, I can just give you an example, maybe for tomatoes you need 180 micromole per second per square meter, the photon flux density. Then you need a little bit of blue, a big portion of hyper-red, and then a little bit of white. If you have other plants, so then you need some other contents. In the beginning, we said, okay, we don't need green light because green light is going to be reflected. But then in Russia, some customers told me, okay, we have seen if we do not apply green light for the salad, so then it's not working. So I think this is a trial and error way to do it.
Thank you, Horst. Igor will read the next question.
Yeah, so Hector thanks you for the presentation and asks, what are the parameters do you recommend to measure the greenhouse and verify the correct use of the LED lighting?
So in terms of, do you mean in terms of the ambient in the greenhousing, or do you mean now specific on LED level?
Yeah, I believe he's mentioning about the PPF and PPFD.
Okay, so let's start with not only the light is important in a greenhouse. Try to answer it more general. In a greenhouse, you have to get, there are systems where you can measure humidity in a greenhouse, temperature in a greenhouse, where you can measure CO2 concentration in a greenhouse. You can also measure the transpiration, respiration of the plants and all the things. If you do it in a big style, so then somehow you have to get all these parameters. In terms of light, you might need a spectrometer to measure this the light coming out of the light source, or at least you need a lux meter. But then you need to have a correlation, because the lux meter is calibrated to a V lambda, to the human eye, so that means to lumen. Then you might know the lumen you are measuring is corresponding to a certain value of ppf for the plants, but this is dependent to the spectrum. So that means that you might have a correlation between each spectrum what you have. If you have a different spectrum somewhere else, you cannot use the same factor. Then you could work with such an more, let's say, a cheaper measurement system. Otherwise, I would recommend you can. There are also spectrometers which are not very expensive, and you can use a spectrometer where you can measure the content of the spectra in every wavelength, and also the irradiation of the area.
Thank you, Horst. Just to mention, Hector is a lighting researcher from Mexico. So,
okay.
In the next question, I would like to ask Sergio to answer, because it's related to OSRAM representatives in Brazil. So I think that you can answer this question to Gilmar, Sergio.
Hi, Gilmar. If you need more information about the LEDs or samples, you can contact me, right? I will share my mail and cell phone to Marco, and he can share with you, right? So actually, we have here. I'm a key account manager from OSRAM, and we also have some distributors working here locally. Okay.
Thank you, Sergio. Horst, the next question is from Latifa. Thanking you for your nice presentation. And the question is how to quantify the ratio of blue and red LEDs needed for plants.
Okay, so basically we recommend a less content of blue. So usually we recommend something between 5 and 10% of blue, and 80% of 80 to 90% of hyper. Something is. I hope it's not my fault. It's not my. Okay. It stopped. It was a call somehow here in the, but I had so many windows here. So let's say between 5 and up to 20% blue, and the rest hyper red. So this is what we would recommend, and this is dependent on if you go more in the mature phase of a plant, or if you are more in the germination. So if you are more in a germination phase, so then maybe a higher content of blue might be interesting. But this is the biggest advantage on LED, is that you have different LEDs with different spectra, and you can adjust it, which was not possible in the past with the conventional technology. It just could turn on and off, and now you can try to copy the nature somehow. Try to adopt to the morning, adopt to the evening, or even put the right spectrum to the right matureness phase or the growing stage of the plants.
Igor, can you read the next question?
Yes, sure. Yes, we have a question from Nancy. She asks if there is any special quality norms for horticulture, or is it the same for indoor and outdoor LED lighting? I believe. Yeah, I believe she complements with. Is there any reference for power factor and THD?
In terms of electrical, yes. This is a good question. Everything which is for indoor has to fulfill some electrical safety regulations. Same safety regulations you have also in greenhouses. I was told now in the latest time that there are some greenhouses where they even don't have an RCD. or the connection to Earth is important. So I'm not very familiar how the protection and the safety measurements are. In terms of LED, I know they are usually the modules. They are in a housing. The housing can be protected or can be connected to Earth, and then it comes. You have a driver before, and this driver can be an isolated driver. So then you are really on the safe side, or it can be a non-isolated driver. And in terms of what combination in your solution you have to take care of the safety regulations. In terms of power factor, the majority of the applications, they are above 25 watts. So, and then that means this driver and this module has to behave on your outlet or on your power cord like a resistive load. This means the majority of the drivers, they are in the range of 97% or 97% power factor, and the THD is somewhere between 5, 6, 7% around. So, but this is usually not an issue because you have a active PFC stage for the higher power. Let's say you have a 200 watt or 300 watt luminaire, so then you have an active PFC, and this active PFC is afterwards connected with a DC-DC converter. So here you are on the safe side from the view of the power input. I hope that this was the question. If not, repeat, and I try to answer it if I did not hit the meaning.
Okay, thank you very much, Horst. This was the last question from the audience. So first, I'd like to thank OSRAM through Sergio and from your part too. Sergio, if you want to say some words to finish the participation, please feel free.
Okay, so first of all, again, thank you very much, Professor Marco. This was a great opportunity to us to show our products and to show this focus that OSRAM has on horticulture. We strongly believe that this marketing will grow a lot in the next years. And also, we are able to help any person that wants to design this kind of products and to offer to the marketing. Count on us, right? So I will share my email and cell phone to you, Marco, and please share with all of the guys that wants to talk more about these OSRAM products. So thank you very much, and for everyone that has spent this time with us, and I really hope that you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, Sergio. Horst, thank you very much for your availability to be here and for your very nice presentation and to answer all these questions from our audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. It was also to me a great pleasure, especially the questions. The questions are the most interesting part, and this gives us the hint where we have to dig in more and what we can share with you on information. And thank you for the opportunity and for the organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Igor, for your participation here too.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for your time, and it's very nice talking to you, both Horst and Sergio.
Yes, it was very interesting. We have the participation from the companies Audax with Igor, Marcelo Tons from Intral. We have also the participation of Zagonel, that is the company that made the contact for this webinar. So it's very nice to see the academics and the industrial working together in the same topics. So thank you very much to you and also to our audience. And I will share the information of the next webinars in the next weeks. Next week we have a webinar from Professor Henrique Braga. It will be a webinar in Portuguese that he will tell us the history of his research group in lighting. They work for almost 20 years in this topic, so he has a lot to tell us. So thank you very much, and have a nice weekend.
Have a nice week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.